Paramount has launched a hostile takeover offer for Warner Bros. Discovery in a bold 11th hour effort to outbid Netflix. It went straight to Warner shareholders with an all-cash offer of $108 billion. Now, the bid comes just days after streaming giant Netflix announced that it had sealed an agreement to buy the Hollywood giant for $72 billion. Unlike Netflix's offer, Paramount's latest bid is for the entirety of Warner Bros. Discovery, which includes the buyout of cable channels such as CNN and Discovery. And Warner Bros. Said it will review the offer and make a recommendation to shareholders within 10 business days. And for more, we're joined by Mark Boidman, Partner, Media and Entertainment Group Head at Solomon Partners. Mark, thanks for your time today. So the hostile bid by Paramount for Warner Brothers, and of course Paramount is backed by the Ellison family, seen as Trump allies. We've got news that Jared Kushner is among the financial partners that Paramount is working with as part of this deal. I mean, does this political alignment increase the likelihood of regulatory approval for this deal between Paramount and Warner?
Thank you. Yes, look, what it means is the process will continue. We'll continue to see what evolves here in terms of reviews, questions that will be asked. The theory is that the deal on its face with respect to the latest move by Paramount is a more certain deal, both in terms of speed and certainty. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen. But I think what they're suggesting is that any antitrust review would be more straightforward and would provide more certainty for WB shareholders.
Right. I also want to know what you make of the participation of sovereign wealth funds from Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Qatar as well in Paramount's bid, although Paramount has said that these investors, they will forego governance rights.
Yeah, I think what we need to still evaluate who's in the transaction, who's providing the financing. But in the end, I think any transaction will have some scrutiny, public scrutiny, government scrutiny, and will be reviewed, as this is a transformational transaction, right? As we know, it's putting together two large media powerhouses in the United States and globally. And so it will set forward certain change within both the media landscape, but also in terms of who's providing that financing will be interesting to evaluate. But I think there are still a lot of questions to be answered. And who's providing the financing doesn't necessarily mean they dictate control of the direction of the company.
Right, that's good to know. Paramount owns CBS. It also owns right-leaning website The Free Press, and then has appointed its founder as the editor-in-chief of CBS News. Ellison said that if his offer wins, Paramount would combine CBS News with CNN. I mean, how significant is this concern from a competition standpoint? You know, any editorial concerns? You know, how this shapes the media landscape in the U.S. I mean, is this something that regulators will scrutinize?
Yeah, they have said they plan to put those news organizations together if their deal moves forward. That means likely potential cost savings, but it also means, you know, more scale, more resources potentially available to them. So I think it could cut both ways. You could see a situation where there's, you know, less independence, or potentially, you know, more scale to cover more. Whether the news is independent or not, we'll leave it to those organizations. But in the end, we do think that putting these things together is helpful as it relates to streaming content, streaming news. So whether it's CNN and CBS or others, you know, putting these things together allows them to more effectively cover the news and compete versus other news sources, right? So when you think about the media landscape, there's so many different competing companies now for media mindset. And if you think about the streaming side, for example, with respect to both, you know, for example, Netflix and HBO Max, you put those things together, they're reaching an audience of 430 million plus subscribers. But when you compare that with something like YouTube, Facebook, and various other sources of news, those sites reach billions of people, right? So in the end, this is less about audience size and scale, and more about who's going to provide the best content, and allowing these companies to come together with these companies, whether it's Netflix, whether it's Paramount or others, really sets the scale for what we think means, in theory, should provide better news I'm not going to comment too much on the independent side of that, but it certainly should provide more resources to provide news more efficiently in this increasingly competitive media landscape.
Yeah, and just to build on that, I mean, what would either deal mean for consumers? I mean, how transformative would, the either deal be for the global content market and talking about the film industry as well?
Sure. Look, we think the consumer here needs to have choice. And so in any transaction, we welcome comments around what they plan to do to make sure the consumer wins here. When you put companies like this together, the immediate reaction is, well, what will happen to content? Less companies controlling content, companies deciding what content we will see. But Netflix has been a champion of providing more content and diversified content across its streaming platform. And so the question becomes, what will they do in a combined company? Will they, for example, produce less content for cinema? Our understanding is no. They intend to provide, content to cinema and continue to invest in that side of the business, is what they are saying. I guess we'll have to see as time will tell. Having said that, it's just Thanksgiving in the United States. Take your family to the movies, or if you want to take your family to cinema, very important to have lots of different content. And over time, we're seeing less and less content in cinema. And so that's changing now post-COVID. We're starting to see cinema come back. And so important to see companies say they'll stand behind that because cinema is just a very important part of the media world globally, but in the United States.
All right, Mark, appreciate your time. Mark Boidman there, partner, media and entertainment group, head of Solomon Partners.